All right, welcome everyone. We're diving deep into mortgages today. And to be even more specific, we're looking at GE Elite Capital. You guys have some website. And wow, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, it looks like they offer a pretty wide range of loan options, more than just your average mortgage company.
Right. They're really positioning themselves as like a partner in the homeownership journey, not just, hey, here's some money, good luck.
I saw that too. And they've got an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Plus, they're pretty active on social media.
Which is a good sign, right? It means they're probably not trying to hide anything.
Transparency is key, especially in the financial world. So, where do you want to start? They've got everything from new construction loans to like investor stuff and even those reverse mortgages.
Let's start with new construction loans, because I think a lot of people dream of building their perfect home from scratch, but I bet the financing is a whole different ballgame, right?
Oh, for sure. GE Elite explains that it's actually a two-part process. First, you got the short-term construction loan, and then that converts to a traditional mortgage later on.
Okay, so like two loans in one. Why is it set up that way?
Think about it from the lender's side. With a regular mortgage, they've got the house's collateral, right? Something tangible. But with construction, all they have are blueprints and a hope that you'll finish building.
Ah, that makes sense. So it's riskier for them.
Way riskier. That's why these loans usually require bigger down payments, like 20% to 30% instead of the usual, 5% or less sometimes.
Wow, so you got to have some serious cash up front.
You bet. Plus, stricter approval requirements.
Hey.
And you better have detailed building plans, not just some sketches on a napkin. Oh, and GE Elite also talks a lot about draw schedules. Ever heard of those?
Not really. Is that like when you win a prize at a carnival?
Huh. Not quite. It's basically how the construction loan money gets paid out. Instead of one lump sum, you get funds in stages as the building hits certain milestones.
So like the foundation's done, boom, payment. Framing's up, boom, another payment.
Yep, exactly. Keeps everything aligned. Imagine watching your house being built piece by piece, knowing the financing is following right along.
That's pretty cool, actually. Takes some of the stress out, I bet. Now, what if you're not just thinking about your own home, but, maybe you're into real estate investing?
Flipping houses, you mean?
Yeah.
Or just buying and selling properties?
Yeah, stuff like that. GE Elite has something called Investor Bridge Fix and Flip Loans. Sounds pretty intense.
Those are all about short-term financing. Bridging the gap, literally when you need cash fast, but don't have, a regular mortgage lined up yet.
So, you see a great deal on a property you want to fix up and flip, but haven't sold your current place yet?
Perfect example. Or maybe you're upgrading to a bigger house, but need to buy the new one before the old one sells. GE Elite even has that scenario on their website.
That's super relatable. But there's got to be a catch, right? These loans can't be all sunshine and rainbows.
Well, convenience comes at a price. Usually higher interest rates than your typical mortgage. And they almost always require collateral, something to back up the loan.
So you're paying for that speed and flexibility. It's a tool, but definitely not without its risks. Okay, I'm seeing something here about DSCR loans, and honestly, I have no clue what that even stands for. Help me out here.
DSCR. That's Debt Service Coverage Ratio. Sounds complicated, but it's really all about proving you have enough income to handle the loan payments.
Ah, so showing you're not going to go broke the second they hand you the money.
Exactly. It's especially important for business owners because lenders want to see that the business is doing well enough to cover those payments.
So your personal income doesn't matter as much as the company's profits.
Right. They look at the business's cash flow and want to see a good DSCR, meaning you're bringing in significantly more than you owe each month.
Gotcha. So if your business is killing it, a DSCR loan might be the way to go. Makes you look like a less risky borrower.
You got it. Now let's talk about something that probably applies to a lot more people out there. Personal home loans. This is where things get, really relevant for the average homeowner.
Yeah, and GE Elite seems to have a ton of options here. FHA loans, conventional, VA loans for veterans, even stuff for self-employed folks. It's a bit overwhelming, honestly.
It can be. Let's break it down one by one, starting with something that's a lifesaver for a lot of first-time buyers, the FHA loan.
Okay, FHA loans. Why are those so popular, especially for folks just starting out?
Well, think back to those big down payments we talked about earlier, 20%, 30%, sometimes even more. Ouch.
Yeah, not exactly pocket change.
Exactly. But with an FHA loan, you can get a house with as little as 3.5% down. That's a huge GE difference.
Yeah.
Opens doors for people who don't have a ton of cash saved up.
I see. Lower barrier to entry, essentially, so you can become a homeowner sooner.
Precisely. Now, if you've got good credit and maybe a bit more financial wiggle room, conventional loans might be a better fit.
Because those usually have better interest rates, right? Lower monthly payments overall.
Potentially, yes. But they also have stricter credit requirements. And they can be used for a wider variety of properties, not just single-family homes.
Okay, so it's a trade-off. Higher credit score for potentially lower rates. And let's not forget our veterans. VA loans seem like an amazing benefit.
Absolutely. No down payment required in most cases, and often better interest rates than conventional loans. Plus, less strict credit requirements overall. It's a well-deserved perk for those who've served our country.
Couldn't agree more. Now, what about folks who are self-employed? Their income situation can be a bit trickier to prove, right?
That's where self-employed loans come in. They're designed to accommodate those fluctuating income streams that come with running your own business or freelancing.
So you don't have to fit into that perfect W-2 box that traditional lenders love so much.
Exactly. But be prepared to provide a lot of documentation. Tax returns, profit and loss statements, the whole shebang. Lenders want to make sure your business is stable and profitable.
Makes sense. They want to see that cash flow. Okay, G-Elite also mentions reverse mortgages. Those seem targeted at a whole different demographic.
They are. Reverse mortgages are for older homeowners, usually 62 or older, who want to tap into their home equity without having to sell their house or make monthly mortgage payments.
So it's like turning your house into a source of income, basically, especially helpful for folks on a fixed retirement income.
You got it. But it's important to understand the risks. Interest accrues on the loan balance, and if you don't keep up with property taxes and insurance, you could end up losing your home.
So definitely not a decision to take lightly. Needs careful consideration and maybe some advice from a financial expert. And last but not least, we have second mortgages. What are those all about?
Essentially, it's borrowing against the equity you've built up in your home. You can use the money for anything, really. Home improvements, debt consolidation, even just covering major expenses.
Sounds like a way to access a good chunk of cash without having to sell your house. But again, I bet there are downsides.
Oh, yeah. Higher interest rates than your primary mortgage, and if you default, you could lose your home because the second mortgage is subordinate to the first one.
So use with caution. It's a tool, but can be risky if not handled properly.
Well, we've covered a lot of different loan types just from G-Elite's website alone. It's impressive, but also a bit overwhelming, to be honest.
It's definitely a lot to digest, but the good news is G-Elite seems to be all about transparency and helping people understand their options.
Exactly. And that's what we're here for, too, to break down this complex stuff and make it a little less intimidating for everyone out there.
It's great that they offer so much variety, though. Something for everyone.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But remember, folks, this is just us scratching the surface. Before you jump into anything, do your own research, compare rates from different lenders. You know the drill.
Absolutely. And maybe even talk to a financial advisor if you need some personalized guidance. Everyone's situation is different. Okay, so G-Elite has this section on their website called Top 5 Mortgage Mistakes to Avoid. And I think this is where things get really interesting, really helpful.
Yeah, these are the kind of things that can trip people up, even if they've bought a house before.
So mistake number one, and this might seem obvious, but it's failing to check your credit score. Like, before you even start the mortgage process.
It's like, yeah, you wouldn't run a marathon without training first, right?
Yeah.
Your credit score is basically your financial fitness level. The higher it is, the better rates you'll get, the smoother everything will go.
So know your score. And if it needs some work, take steps to improve it before you even think about applying for a mortgage.
Exactly. A little effort up front can save you a lot of headaches later on. All right, mistake number 2 is one that I think a lot of people underestimate. Closing costs.
Oh, yes. Those sneaky little fees that always seem to add up to way more than you expected.
It's like you're so focused on the down payment and the monthly mortgage, and then bam, you get hit with all these extra charges at closing.
Attorney fees, appraisal fees, title search. It's like a whole other world of expenses.
And they can really add up. So make sure you factor those costs into your budget from the very beginning.
Don't let closing costs derail your home ownership dreams. Okay, mistake number 3. And we touched on this earlier, but it's worth repeating. Not getting pre-approved for a mortgage before you start house hunting.
Oh, this is huge EE. Pre-approval is basically like getting a financial thumbs up from a lender saying, hey, we're willing to loan you this much money.
So you know what you can realistically afford before you start falling in love with houses that are way out of your price range.
Exactly. It also shows sellers that you're serious, that you're a qualified buyer. Gives you a leg up in a competitive market.
It's like having your financing ducks in a row, right? Makes the whole process smoother.
All right, mistake number 4 is one that can be super tempting, especially when you're excited about buying a new house. Taking on too much debt. Oh, I've seen this happen so many times. People get caught up in the excitement and start thinking about new furniture, a new car, maybe even a vacation to celebrate.
But that can totally backfire, right? Suddenly your debt-to-income ratio is through the roof and lenders get spooked.
Yep, they want to see that you can comfortably handle the mortgage payments on top of all your other debt obligations.
So maybe hold off on that shopping spree until after you've closed on the house. All right, mistake number 5 really highlights the importance of doing your homework and seeking expert advice. Choosing the wrong type of mortgage.
There are so many options out there. FHA, conventional, VA, adjustable rate, fixed rate. It's enough to make your head spin.
And what works for one person might be a total disaster for someone else.
Yeah, exactly. So talk to different lenders, maybe consult with a financial advisor, and really understand the pros and cons of each mortgage type before you commit.
It's like you wouldn't just buy the first pair of shoes you see without trying them on first, right? Okay, in addition to those top 5 mistakes, G Elite also has this fun little section called Mortgage Do's and Don'ts, which is, a bit more lighthearted but still super helpful.
I like that they're trying to make it fun and relatable. Mortgages don't have to be all doom and gloom.
Exactly. So let's run through a few of these. First up, DO, shop around for the best mortgage rates.
Don't just assume that your current bank or the first lender you talk to will give you the best deal. It pays to compare.
It's like, yeah, you wouldn't buy a car without checking prices at a few different dealerships, right? Same principle applies to mortgages. Now, on the flip side, don't assume you'll automatically get the best rate just because you have a long-standing relationship with a particular bank.
Sometimes loyalty doesn't pay off, unfortunately.
Whoop.
The best deals can come from unexpected places.
Okay, here's a DO that's all about planning. DO, have a clear budget in mind before you start house hunting.
It's so easy to get carried away when you're looking at beautiful houses, imagining yourself living there.
But then reality hits when you realize you can't actually afford the mortgage payments.
Ouch. So know your limits, folks. Figure out how much you can comfortably spend each month without putting yourself in a financial bind.
And while we're on the topic of budgeting, don't get in over your head just because you qualify for a large mortgage.
Just because a lender is willing to give you a certain amount of money doesn't mean you have to take it.
Right. Think about all the other costs that come with homeownership. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance, those unexpected repairs that always seem to pop up.
Don't become house poor, where your entire budget is consumed by housing expenses and you're left with nothing for anything else.
Okay, we already talked about pre-approval, but it's so important that G Elite lists it as both a DO and a don't. Do get pre-approved before you even start looking at houses.
It'll streamline the entire process, show sellers that you're serious, and help you avoid disappointment later on.
And on the flip side, don't assume you'll live in your new house forever.
Life happens. You might need to relocate for work. Your family might grow. Your needs might change. Don't box yourself in with a house that won't accommodate those potential changes.
So think about your long-term plans when choosing a mortgage term and a property type. Flexibility is key. All right, this next DO might not be the most exciting, but it's super important. Read the fine print.
Oh yeah, those mortgage documents can be a real snooze fest. Pages and pages of legal jargon.
But it's crucial to understand what you're signing, what you're agreeing to. G Elite really stresses this, encouraging people to ask questions and get clarification if anything is unclear.
Don't be afraid to slow things down and make sure you fully grasp all the terms and conditions before you sign on the dotted line.
Now here's a DO that's all about being prepared. Do you be prepared for unexpected expenses?
Because let's face it, stuff happens. A leaky roof, a broken appliance, a tree falling on your fence. Homeownership comes with its fair share of surprises.
And those surprises can get expensive.
Exactly. So having an emergency fund specifically for home-related expenses can be a lifesaver. It'll help you avoid going into debt every time something unexpected happens.
All right, and last but not least, a DO that I absolutely love. Do you have a good sense of humor throughout the process?
Yes. Buying a house can be stressful, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But try to find moments of levity along the way.
Don't sweat the small stuff, celebrate the milestones, and remember that you're on an exciting journey towards achieving a major life goal.
Exactly. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Speaking of making things more enjoyable, I wanted to circle back to G Elite's social media presence.
Oh yeah, they're all over Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube. Not something you see every day from a mortgage company.
It shows that they're, like, in tune with how people consume information these days. It's not just about brochures and websites anymore. People want to connect in a more engaging way.
And G Elite is doing a great job of that, sharing valuable content, answering questions, even encouraging people to reach out to them directly for personalized guidance.
It's refreshing to see that level of transparency and accessibility in the financial industry. It definitely makes them stand out. It really makes you feel like they want to be your partner, not just, another faceless corporation.
Totally. So, yeah, if you're out there looking into mortgage options, definitely keep G Elite Capital in mind. They seem to be doing things a bit differently in a good way.
I agree. And, speaking of different, I think it's important to remember the emotional side of all this.
Oh, absolutely. We've been talking a lot about numbers and rates and, the nitty-gritty of mortgages, but at the end of the day, buying a house is a huge emotional decision.
It is. It's about finding a place where you feel comfortable, where you can build a life, create memories. It's not just a financial investment, it's an emotional one too.
Exactly. And I love that G Elite seems to get that. They're not just focused on pushing loans. They actually talk about helping people find a home that fits their lifestyle, their values,
Yeah, it's not just about the transaction. It's about finding the right fit for you and your family, a place where you can really put down roots and thrive.
So as you're going through this whole process, remember to keep that in mind. A home is more than just bricks and mortar. It's a place where life happens. It's an investment in your happiness and your future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Choose wisely, folks.
Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive, let's just do a quick recap of some key takeaways for you.
Number one, knowledge is power. The more you understand about the different types of loans, the mortgage process, the potential pitfalls, the better equipped you'll be to make smart decisions.
So do your research, ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out to experts like G Elite Capital, for example. They seem happy to help.
And remember, a mortgage isn't just a transaction. It's a stepping stone towards achieving your dreams.
Whether that's owning your first home, upgrading to something bigger, or maybe even getting into real estate investing.
Exactly. And even if you end up going with a different lender, the knowledge you've gained from this deep dive will be invaluable.
It's all about empowering you to navigate this process with confidence and make the best choices for your individual circumstances.
Absolutely. Knowledge is key.
Well, it's been a pleasure diving deep into the world of G Elite Capital with you today. We hope you found this journey informative, maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Hopefully less intimidating, too. Mortgages can be a bit scary, but they don't have to be.
Exactly. And hey, if you're ready to take the next step, check out G Elite Capital's website or give them a call. They seem like a great resource, even if you just have some preliminary questions.
Nothing wrong with gathering information and exploring your options.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of mortgages with G Elite Capital. Until next time, happy house hunting.